Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and we have more breaking Magic the Gathering news for you. It just seems like every week we have a couple more big announcements coming out, and this is a huge one. Took a lot of people by surprise, myself included, but we found out we are getting yet another Magic expansion this summer. So we will be getting Conspiracy, the Reign of Brago, in August, which means there'll be a expansion coming out every month this summer, June, July, and August. So let's talk a little bit more about what we know so far and the implications of adding a sixth set to the yearly cycle of Magic. First off, I just wanted to show this quickly, but this was the artwork that was released along with this announcement, and it's King Brago. Very cool piece of art, and it looks like you'll see in just a moment as we take a closer look at the announcement that King Brago is the centerpiece of this set, and it appears that maybe some of the conspiracy mechanics will kind of play along with Brago, either being on his side or being against him. So let's take a look at the actual announcement. And here is the announcement on Wizards' homepage. And you can see here the set name, Conspiracy, the Reign of Brago. Add deeper layers of gameplay to your next Magic draft and fight for King Brago, or plot his downfall. The Conspiracy, the Reign of Brago set builds on the revolutionary abilities introduced in the original Conspiracy set, with new cards that affect the draft itself, and new conspiracies that will twist the rules against your foes and those who dare oppose Brago. Trade votes and spread your attacks to manipulate the game in your favor. How will you defend the throne? This set is designed for 8-player drafts followed by free-for-all games of 3 to 5 players each. There'll be 221 cards in the set. Comes out August 26, 2016, and MSRP per pack will be $3.99, so more like a normal Magic release, not like Eternal Masters or Modern Masters. It will also be in English, Japanese, Chinese simplified, and of course you can see the design team here as well. Okay, so let's talk about what this means first. I mean, the first Conspiracy set, if you played that, sounds very similar to it. If you weren't familiar with the original Conspiracy, basically what it was designed to be drafted, and there were cards in your packs that kind of acted like almost sort of draft-specific cards that flipped the rules during the draft, and almost felt borderline like unglued type cards, but they only really affected the draft. Once you sat down to the table to play, for the most part, the cards were all pretty normal, but they did have a focus on multiplayer. So you sat down and drafted, and then you played a game of multiplayer with the cards. So this is basically the same idea in its design. The good part of Conspiracy was it brought us a lot of cards for Legacy and Vintage, as well as Commander and Cube, that are fantastic cards, and cards, especially for Commander, that are focused on multiplayer games. It was really something cool to have at that time. So it appears like we're going to get more of that type of thing, but we even got real powerful cards like Dak Faden and Council's Judgment that see play in Vintage and in Legacy. So hopefully this time around we'll see the same sort of thing. And we also got a lot of great reprints that were pretty much legacy cards, but we saw reprints like Stifle, we saw Misdirection, Exploration. There were a lot of fantastic reprints, and in fact we opened a box of Conspiracy not that long ago on the channel for our 1,000 subscribers celebration, and the box was awesome. You can see the type of cards that were in that set. So if you aren't familiar with Conspiracy, check out the video. You'll have a fair idea of what the set's like just by watching that. So this sounds like more of the same, but is that a bad thing? No, that's awesome. I loved Conspiracy. I drafted it. I played it. I even played it as sealed and played one-on-one, and it still was a fun format. It still worked. I mean, obviously you can't play with some of the draft-specific type cards, but it was still fun. It was just an awesome experience. You got to play with a lot of older cards and stuff. A lot of cool reprints were in there. So I loved it. It was one of my favorite releases in the last couple of years. I also liked the fact that it was very easy to find. Vendors were able to get copies and booster boxes. As a matter of fact, it almost felt like the market was flooded at one point. It was easy to get booster boxes, sometimes for $75-$80. They were just kind of everywhere, but they were really fun, and they had great cards in them, and you could just open them and get some really big pulls. So this is awesome. The only thing that kind of makes me wonder is 6 Magic sets a year going to be too much? Are they going to start basically cannibalizing their other sets by releasing so much, almost creating competition against themselves? Well, on one side of the coin, you got to look at it this way. they are getting rid of some products. We recently found out the event decks and the clash packs will not be coming back. So maybe this is just a replacement for those type of products. And if that's the case, this is a pretty big upgrade. Going from those type of deck products to an actual set is actually kind of amazing when you look at it that way. And also, too, you have to keep in mind that even though there's 3 sets coming out this summer, they all are kind of tailored to somebody different. So in June, you have Eternal Masters, which is a premium product. Is really focused at players that want to expand their Legacy collection or perhaps get into Cube or further into Commander. Then in July, you're going to have Eldritch Moon, which is your normal expansion for your standard modern players. And it's going to, of course, have its own draft environment, but for the most part, players focused on this set are going to be into the competitive scene more for standard and modern card pickups. And then finally, in August, you have this set now, Conspiracy, which is really tailored for multiplayer gameplay and your drafters and limited players. So they are 3 very unique products. They're impacting different sectors of players, so maybe it will work out. However, there's also players out there, and I put myself in this bucket, that I like to play a lot of different limited formats, so I don't want to just necessarily skip a set. I don't want to say, well, you know what, I'm not going to really participate in Eldritch Moon, I'll just play the other 2 sets. I'm going to want to play the limited environment in all 3. Which means I'm probably going to spend less money this summer on any of these individual sets as a whole, because I'm spreading my funds out between the 3 sets. And I think that's what Wizards has to be careful of, is just competing against themselves. I only have so much money that I can spend on Magic, and I want to play all 3 of these sets, so it doesn't mean I'm necessarily spending more money than I would have spent. I'm just spreading it out now between different products. Maybe that's okay, and I'm not everybody. There's other players that will just zero in probably on the sets that appeal to them, but it remains to be seen. We'll have to see how this unfolds. One other side note to this set, you notice that we don't see a Magic Online release, and if this is anything like the original Conspiracy, it won't have a Magic Online release. What they did for the original one was all the brand new cards. So if you take the Conspiracy set but remove all the reprints, they took those cards and they released them as part of a different set. And that set was Vintage Masters. So that particular summer, you had the Vintage Masters set, which reprinted a lot of cards from Magic's history and was its own unique draft format, which made a little more sense for Magic Online because that is a little more dependent on one-on-one play. So what you saw there was Vintage Masters, all the Conspiracy cards were in there that were new cards, and you just had a different set of reprints, which basically recrafted the limited environment to make it a little more traditional one-on-one environment. You got awesome MTGO reprints, and they were able to print a lot of cards for the first time in that format, for example, the Power 9. So they went in a completely different direction, but they still gave you the Conspiracy cards. So we'll see what happens this year. If there's a Vintage Masters 2, who knows? But I'm assuming there'll be some sort of product on Magic Online that's going to incorporate the new cards from this new Conspiracy. And of course, Conspiracy, I want to make sure I mention, it will not be standard legal. So much like the original Conspiracy, these cards will be legal in Eternal formats. So Vintage, Legacy, Commander, Cube, much like Eternal Masters in that regard. However, any new cards, because there will be new cards in this release, you can't play them in Standard, you can't play them in Modern, but you can play them in Legacy and Vintage. So for what that's worth. So having said that, that's the news. I'd love to hear your opinion on all this. Let me know in the comments below. Are you excited about this? Is Conspiracy 2 something you wanted? Will you be playing this in drafts? Will you be playing this at your LGS? Is this too much? Are there just too many Magic sets? Getting 6 a year? Are you going to even be able to spend the money to try out Conspiracy? Or are your funds going to things like Eternal Masters? I'd love to hear your opinion on this, because right now I'm not sure. I'm not really sure how this is going to unfold for Wizards, if it's going to be good or bad for their business. But we're going to know soon enough, because summer's right around the corner. So until then, hey, as always, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.